If you've ever made it to Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat, you already know how ridiculous he is. He's not just a hard boss, he's one of those "this can't be real" kinds of fights. He hits like a truck, shrugs off your attacks, and somehow always knows exactly what you're about to do. That's because he literally cheats. The AI reads your inputs and reacts instantly, so it never feels like you're on even ground. And then there's the taunting. The man yells, "Bow to me," and "you suck," while smashing you in the face with a giant hammer. He's beating you and he's clowning you while doing it. It messes with your head and makes the fight even more frustrating. He first showed up in Mortal Kombat 2, and he's been a pain ever since. They gave him new moves, made him faster, stronger, more aggressive. Every version of Shao Kahn somehow feels worse than the last. But that's what makes him iconic. He's not just a final boss, he's a full-on wall. You either learn how to beat him, or you lose again and again. Either way, you remember him. Mike Tyson in Punch-Out is straight up NES brutality in its purest form. He's a full-blown final exam for your reflexes and patience. If you made it through the rest of the game feeling pretty good about your dodging skills, Tyson throws all of that out the window in about 3 seconds. One uppercut and you're on the mat, no questions asked. And for the first minute and a half, that's all he throws. But what really messes with you is how tight the timing is. This isn't like modern games where you've got a bit of room to breathe. Dodging Tyson's punches means reacting in fractions of a second, and if you're playing on a modern screen, good luck, because even a bit of input delay can ruin your run. That's why most people who seriously try him go back to old CRTs or specialized setups just to have a chance. What makes Tyson legendary isn't just how hard he is, it's how fair he feels. Every move is telegraphed, every pattern can be learned. But actually pulling it off, that's a whole other story. He's NES gaming's ultimate rite of passage. The Yellow Devil isn't just a Mega Man boss, he's the Mega Man boss. The moment this massive yellow blob slams onto the screen in the original game, you know you're in trouble. It doesn't have a bunch of crazy attacks or flashy moves, nope. It just splits into 15 chunks, flies across the screen in a pattern that feels like it was cooked up in a lab to drive people insane, and then slowly pulls itself back together for a single shot from that creepy red eye. The thing is that the pattern never changes, so technically it's fair, but memorizing that sequence, especially in such a cramped arena, is a full-blown exercise in pain. You've got to jump over very specific pieces, and mistiming even one leaves you eating damage with no real room to recover. Sure, you can melt him with the Thunder Beam if you're lucky enough to have it, or like tons of kids did back in the day, you can spam the select button for the infamous pause glitch and cheese your way through. But if you try to beat him legit, he's one of the most frustrating and oddly satisfying bosses ever designed. There's Hard, and then there's Gigas. He isn't just a final boss, he's a breakdown in everything you thought the game was about. No weak points, no clear plan, just a slow descent into something completely surreal. The fight starts with Pokey, who soaks up resources while Gigas just sits there, immune to everything. You spend turns trying to figure out what even works, and by the time you're through with Pokey, you're already running low on healing and PSI. And then Gigas unhooks from the Devil's Machine, and that's when it really starts to fall apart. His attacks don't even make sense. There's no logic to them, just chaos, instant death chances, random targeting, screen distortions, no patterns to read. And then, just when you think maybe you're getting somewhere, he becomes totally invincible again. The only way to win is to pray, literally. Paula has to survive long enough to call on the world's hope, again and again. It throws out every combat rule you've learned and turns the fight into something personal. Gigas doesn't just beat you with power, he beats you with atmosphere, mechanics, and fear. That's why nobody forgets him. When the fight starts, you realize this isn't like anything else you've seen in the game. There's no lead-in, no dramatic pause, just a wave of non-stop attacks that hit before you can even think. Most players don't last more than a few seconds on their first try. It's totally by design. And what makes Sans so annoying isn't just the speed or the sheer number of patterns, it's how he bends the rules. Every hit applies something called karma, a poison-like effect that keeps draining your health after the damage lands. It adds this extra layer of stress where even small mistakes turn into a countdown, and you're constantly trying to heal while dodging attacks that barely give you any space to breathe. The fight goes on much longer than you would expect, with no checkpoint or safety nets to rely on. You have to stay locked in the entire time, learning each pattern through failure, and somehow finding the energy to push through even after dozens of restarts. When you finally win, it doesn't feel like you outpowered him. It feels like you endured something, like you earned the ending with every shaky hand and wasted healing item. Even before the fight begins, the game makes it clear that you're not walking into a normal boss battle. Sephiroth doesn't test your reaction speed right away. He tests whether you're even ready to be there, if your stats aren't in the right place, if your equipment isn't optimized, if you don't have second chance or leaf bracer equipped, you're gonna get deleted in seconds. Most players spend hours grinding before they even try, and even with all that prep, he still feels overwhelming. The first phase looks manageable, but one mistimed combo and you'll eat a flame pillar that knocks you out of rhythm. Get through that and he starts casting Heartless Angel, instantly dropping your health and magic to nothing if you don't interrupt him in time. If that lands and you're not fast with a recovery elixir, the fight's already over. By the time he starts spamming Meteor and Octoslash, the real challenge becomes holding your focus. His health is hidden across 6 bars, so it feels like you're making no progress. That's what breaks most people. It's not just a test of your build, it's whether you can keep going even when it feels like the fight never ends. Raven Beak is one of the hardest bosses in Metroid Dread, but beating him feels amazing. The fight hits you with everything across 3 long phases, and you've got to stay sharp, pick up on his patterns quickly, and make smart moves under pressure. In the first phase, he stays on the ground, throwing out heavy melee hits, tracking projectiles, and big laser beams that sweep across the whole screen. You've got to dodge smart, time your counters, and fit in missile damage whenever you get a gap, but if you mess up a counter, it slows everything down and forces you to reset progress. Once he starts flying, the fight changes completely. He dive bombs, shoots tracking lasers, and stays moving, which makes it harder to land your attacks. You're constantly dodging while trying to keep up pressure. In the last part, he throws huge orbs everywhere and attacks even faster. It feels crazy at first, but once you learn his pattern, it starts to make sense. Landing the final counters is one of the best moments in the game because you've earned it. Every part of the fight builds on what you've learned, and that's what makes it great. Sigrin is hands down one of the toughest bosses in God of War 2018. She's the final Valkyrie fight, and if you've made it this far, she throws everything the others taught you right back at you, but faster, harder, and with no breaks. You've got to know Kratos' full moveset and react quick, because this fight is non-stop. One bad dodge or mistimed block, and you're toast. She mixes flying dives, spinning hits, shockwaves, and shield smashes into long combos that mess you up if you panic. You can't just spam attacks, obviously. You need to read her, dodge or block at the right moment, then hit back during her brief recovery windows. The real challenge is switching between blocking, rolling, parrying, and countering without messing up once. Even on the easiest difficulty, players were dying by the dozen. On the hardest one, her kill to death ratio was a wild 100-to-1. There's no cheese strat, just straight up skill. You'll have to use everything. Atreus' arrows to interrupt, Spartan rage to stay alive, perfect parries to turn the tide. Beat her, and you've mastered the game. Orphan of Cause is the craziest boss in Bloodborne. He comes at you with full speed from the start and doesn't stop swinging. The first phase is hard. He comes in with fast slashes, weird jump attacks, shoulder charges, and the timing always changes, so you can't just memorize stuff. His weapons are wild also. They hit you even when it looks like they shouldn't, so panic dodging will get you killed. Then phase 2 hits and it gets even worse. He grows wings and moves even faster. He starts flying, diving, and calling lightning from the sky so the whole arena becomes chaos. There's no break. He'll slam, jump, and throw projectiles all in one go. You barely get time to breathe. Most people die 50, 100, even 200 times before beating him. Even Let Me Solo Her, the dude who beat Millennia 4,000 times, said this guy gave him trouble. To survive, you gotta stay close, dodge into his moves, and save your healing for phase 2. Don't bother playing safe, you'll get overwhelmed easily. Just accept you're gonna die a bunch and learn from it. Millennia isn't just hard, she's exhausting. You dodge one move, she heals off the next. Even if you block, she still recovers health. So now you can't tank, you can't make mistakes, and you're stuck playing perfect or restarting, and then Waterfowl hits you. That move alone has ended more runs than anything in the game. If you don't time your dodges just right, you're dead before you can even react. Then halfway through, she turns into the goddess of rot. New phase, new moves, and everything's faster and more chaotic. She dive bombs you, fills the arena with scarlet rot, and starts throwing out combos that feel freaking unfair. Even if you survive the first half, now you've got to do it all over again under way more pressure. That's why she's become the one boss everyone talks about. People have spent dozens of hours just trying to beat her once. Some gave up, others tried a little bit more, but then also gave up. And then there's Let Me Solo Her, the guy who beat her for thousands of players, naked with a pot on his head. That's why everyone who's played Elden Ring knows her name. Some people rage quit, some called in help, and then rage quit after their 100th death. But if you beat her yourself, no summons and no cheesing, you remember that forever. Not because it was clean, but because you had to earn every second of it. Thanks for watching. Did we miss any bosses? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more similar videos.